Another interesting thing about the wheat board is logistics. We've heard a lot about pipelines coming out of Alberta for oil. Well, and the statement from the oil industry is Alberta has a plumbing problem. Well, the whole of Western Canada has a plumbing problem when it comes to moving grain off the prairies. We have a constraint, what they call a constrained transportation system. What that means in plain English is we don't have enough rail cars, we don't have enough holes or passages through the mountains to get them through to the coast where all of it has to be sold. And so what we do is we allocate resources to make sure that we can get the grain off the prairies in an orderly fashion. There's only two ways to do that. One way is to do it on the basis of price. In other words, who pays the most to get their grain off the prairies first? What that means on the other side of that, the flip side of that is, it means what farmers take less to get their grain off the prairies. We've got a better way in Western Canada. What we do in Western Canada is we have the Canadian Wheat Board as the single desk seller, so we actually own the grain right through the whole pipeline until it gets to the end-use customer across the sea. So the Wheat Board is able to negotiate with the grain handlers and the railways to get that grain to port. Then the Wheat Board negotiates with the ship owners to get that grain from the port to the point of destination. At every step of the way, there's a little bit of money to be made for the grain producers on that. With the private trade, that little bit of money on every step of the way goes to the private trade. So without the board, there's a problem. The other thing that the board does is it's a good neighbor on the prairies. So there's also canola, peas, all sorts of non-board grains, and the board coordinates its sales deliveries to make sure that there's room in the system for the canolas and the pulses and all the other many types of grains that the board doesn't sell to get into the system and get into that pipeline and get it off the prairies to markets. Once the board is gone, that's all going to be decided on who can pay the most to get their product off the prairies the quickest, and that means that farmers of board grains and non-board grains will end up getting less for their product as the handlers bid for system capacity to get it off the prairies. So we have a better way with the Canadian Wheat Board, and it benefits not just people using the wheat board to sell their wheat and barley, but it benefits all grain producers in Western Canada. It keeps the system running smoothly and more or less efficiently, and that keeps a lot of people in jobs, in the ports, on the railways, and in the country.